Hello and good morning. Today we will be looking at the first topic, that's introduction to meal, definition, purpose, and importance. So for today's session, we'll be looking at introducing monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And then participant will understand what meal is, its key component, and why it is essential in development and humanitarian projects. By the end of this lesson, participants should be able to define meal and its core component, explain the purpose of meal in program management, discuss the importance of meal in decision making, learning, and accountability, and identify the key stakeholders involved in the meal process. So now, to dive in proper, meal stands for monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. I know a lot of people have misconception, especially when it comes to meal. I personally have been approached by someone that thought meal was all about food or food processing. It is a structured approach, however, used by organizations to ensure effective program implementation, measure results, and incorporate feedback for continuous improvement. Now, the key components of meal are monitoring, which stands for the first M, which is the routine tracking of programs, activities, and output against the planned targets. The second component, that's E, stands for evaluation. It's a systematic assessment of project effectiveness, efficiency, impact, and sustainability. The next, which is A, stands for accountability. And it's the responsibility to provide information to stakeholders and ensure that projects respond to the needs of beneficiaries. And lastly is L, that's learning. And it's the process of using data and insight to improve program strategies and implementation. Now, to look at the purpose of meal. Meal serves multiple purposes in program management, including to improve decision making. Now, through the processes of meal, it helps organizations to adjust strategies based on evidence gathered through the monitoring processes. And then it also enhances program effectiveness. It ensures that projects achieve their intended outcomes. And meal helps organization in resource optimization. It helps in efficiency to efficiently utilize funds and resources. Transparency and accountability. Meal helps us to build trust with donors, with stakeholders, and with our beneficiaries. Learning and adaptation. It allows organizations to refine their approaches based on the lessons learned in the process of activities implementation. Next, key stakeholders in meal processes. We have two major categories of stakeholders. That's the internal stakeholders, who are the project managers, the meal teams, the field staff, and civil management. In summary, internal stakeholders are organizational staffs that plays a major role in the implementation and oversight of a certain project, while the external stakeholders are the donors, the government agencies we worked with, beneficiaries, and partners. To add a bit of light, beneficiaries play a major role, and hence why they are one of the key stakeholders in the project. So engaging communities ensures relevance and effectiveness, and also acceptance in the project. Now, let's look at some practical examples of meal in our real life implementations and projects. monitoring in action. So we are looking at tracking school attendance in Nigeria. Here we are looking at a non-governmental organization that implemented an education program in rural Nigeria to improve school attendance and literacy rate among out-of-school children. The application of monitoring. Now, the organization established weekly attendance tracking in schools using digital tools to monitor the number of students attending schools regularly. They use community volunteers who are trained to collect and report attendance data, which is now shared with the monitoring team. And what's the impact of doing the monitoring? So, as a result of monitoring, the organization identified schools with declining attendance and provided targeted interventions, that is, community engagement, parental awareness campaigns, etc. And this led to a 25% increase in the school retention rate over 1 year. So, as we can see, as a result of monitoring, this organization were able to detect early warning signs, and it enables them to take actions before the program fails. So, monitoring helps us to detect issues in our project implementation, and it enables us to take action to make sure our program does not fail. Now, let's look at evaluation in action, assessing the impact of a water project in Uganda. Here we are looking at a developmental agency who is implementing a clean water project in rural Uganda, providing boreholes to improve community health. Let's look at practical example of evaluation. Now, before the agency started implementation, they conducted a baseline data collection where they now gathered the data information needed for the project. After 1 year, an impact evaluation was done to assess the health improvement and the water usage. And then an evaluation revealed that despite the boreholes, some families still use contaminated water sources due to long distance to the borehole. The impact of evaluation. Now, the project adjusted its strategy, installing additional boreholes closer to high-need areas. As a result, there was a 40% reduction in waterborne diseases in the next phase. And evaluation ensures that project meets their objective and helps organization make informed adjustments. Now, because of the evaluation that was done, they were able to detect that there were still issues and some of the families are still using contaminated water, which led to adjustment of their strategies, which now resulted in a 40% reduction in waterborne diseases in the next phase. So through evaluation, we can be able to look at the impact and the outcome of our implementations and see where to adjust where necessary to make sure that we optimize our project efficiency and effectiveness. Next, let's look at accountability in action, community feedback in a humanitarian response. In this context, an organization provided flood emergency response in Bangladesh, and they provided food and shelter to displaced families. Looking at accountability in action, the organization set up complaint and feedback mechanisms, that's hotline, suggestion box, and community meetings, where feedbacks can be gathered from these displaced families. Beneficiaries reported that the food distribution was not meeting dietary need, that is, lack of baby food for their infants. Here we can see that as a result of the accountability mediums that was set up, the NGO were able to adjust their food distribution to include baby formula and culturally appropriate meals. And this increased community trust and engagement, ensuring that aid meets real needs. And lesson. Now, accountability ensures that programs are responsive to the people they serve, to make sure that the beneficiaries have a voice in the implementation of the project, and the services provided are in line with the basic needs of those beneficiaries. Looking at learning in action, adapting a livelihood program in Ethiopia. Here, a livelihood project in Ethiopia trained farmers in drought-resistant agriculture to improve food security. Now, the application of learning in this context, midway through their program implementation, the meal data showed that adoption rates were low because farmers were unsure about the new method. The project team interviewed farmers to understand their concerns. As a result of that, the organization added hands-on demonstration, farms, and peer-to-peer training, increasing adoption by 60% in the following season. We can see that now, as a result of evidence gathered and insight, learning was implemented and adjustment was also made to make sure that the farmers adopt the new method. Now, learning allows organizations to adapt strategies for better impact. To summarize what we have done, the meal system is made up of four major components. I use the word major component because I'm going to discuss about the evolution of meal in the next video. Meal has evolved from the traditional MIE to meal to P-meal, that's incorporating planning, and then also research and adaptation. But that will be covered in the next video. For this one, we are looking at the four major components, which is monitoring. Now, monitoring, like I said, is a continual and systematic collection of data to provide information about project progress. Evaluation, which is the user-focused and systematic assessment of the design, implementation, and result of an ongoing or completed project. Accountability, which is a commitment to balance and respond to the needs of all stakeholders, including the project participants, the donors, partners, and the organization itself in the activities of the project. And lastly, learning, which is having a culture and process in place that enables intentional reflection. The aim of learning is to make smarter and better decisions. Thank you. See you in the next video.